long-ass rant! Oh, it's been a long time since I've done a long-ass rant. I think it's because I haven't... You ever feel like you just don't care about anything? Well, like, realistically, there are things you care about, but you just feel so... I'm just done with it. Just so done with everything. That's how I'm feeling lately. It's... sorry if I, seem a little distracted. I'm also, downloading Sims 4 CC, so... It's just like... Everything is always going to shit. No matter what. There's never any bright side to anything. It feels like nothing that anyone ever does matters. Because we're all going to die. It's going to happen. And whenever somebody, on, like Matthew Santaro, does a, did you know, or top 50 facts, or, stuff, and it's like, he talks about people trying to achieve more, immortality. I'm like, why? What? Seriously, what is so exciting about life that you want to live for fucking ever? Why do you want to do that? It doesn't make any sense to me. And you're stupid. Do you know that you're stupid? I say that you're stupid. Sorry. It just... Oh my god, really? I don't care. Like, it's telling me that it's unsafe to download, but it's totally not. That's the thing. It's just so stupid. You're stupid. You putting it in the right place? I hope you put it in the right place. Oh my god. So... I don't know. It's just like... I don't enjoy anything anymore. And it drives me nuts. It's like... When I wake up in the morning, I'm sitting there and I go, I wish I could just sleep forever, but then I'd waste the day. And then it's like, but I wish I could stay awake forever, but then you're exposed to all the bullshit. And... it is like, yeah, life sucks, and then you die. Duh. And, you just gotta deal with it. Yeah, we do. We just gotta deal with it. And that's the problem. That's the shitty part of it. It's not easy to just deal with it when there's so much bullshit. And it's just everywhere, all the time. Constantly. There's no excitement. No good excitement. There's nothing that, this is just how I've been feeling, that there is nothing, and Michael and I, we're still trying to frickin' get out of California. We're stuck here for, I don't remember when we had to fill out that lease, but, at the time we filled out the lease, it was 14 months. Now, obviously, it is not 14 months. So, we've decided that whether we have the money or not, we're getting the fuck out of California. If we have to fucking... this is just an over-exaggeration, if we have to hop on, sneak on a freight train or something, we're gonna do it. Because you know what? Not only does the California weather suck, but if I heard Michael correctly, he said California is now the most expensive state to live in the US. Not only that, but San Diego, where I live, is the most expensive city to live in California. It's draining. Everything. It's completely draining. I'm unhappy. I'm even unhappy with my YouTube stuff. Like, I'm not unhappy with you guys. Okay, so like if I say the only happy things in my life are Michael and my rats, I'm not saying that you're not, important to me, because you are. I don't know. It's not that my channel is not getting more successful. It doesn't matter either way on that, but it's the fact that I'm not doing the things that I really love doing because I don't find enjoyment out of them. And I want to find enjoyment out of them, and just, I haven't been writing lately. Anything. I haven't been writing any fan fiction, any original stories, any muffins. I haven't been drawing. What else do I usually do? I don't find interest in editing videos at all. And I haven't been doing interesting videos, all I'm doing is, talking about shit and posting Sims videos and shit. And it just, I don't know, I feel so completely drained for even if I haven't done anything. I feel like in the morning I've walked a mile and, I don't get off my fat, lazy ass. That's another thing, is because of my unhappiness, I'm allowing my sweet tooth to go haywire, and I don't fucking care what I eat, and just as long as it's sweet. And I'm fat ass. And, I can't stop picking at my skin. Can't stop pulling on my hair. And it's God. It's like, the self-hatred at this point isn't even because of, being bipolar. It's not. It's because I just look at myself and I go, what are you? I look at myself and I go, you're not going anywhere. You're not going, you haven't amounted to anything. You never have, you never will. And that's all I think about. And I can't help it. Oh, why? I'm pretty sure I just downloaded this. Or not. And this is what I do all day. I download Sims 4 stuff. And then I play The Sims. Because I don't want to be in this world. I want to be in a world, not necessarily that I can control, but in a world where this bullshit doesn't exist. And And some people who are so ignorant, and people who don't pay attention, or people who are too young to understand, are like, what bullshit is she talking about? Everything, man. Everything. Every single goddamn thing. And for people who live in the real world that are happy, I'm sitting here and I'm not understanding why. And I'm jealous of them. I'm jealous of happy people. I'm jealous of successful people. I'm jealous of people, mentally, physically ill or not, can be just the greatest people. Because it's just like, why bother? I know my attitude isn't helping anything, but I really, really can't help to think that way. Why bother? I was born from two parents that were not ready for a child. That, one of them was cheating on the other one, didn't even know if I was my father's daughter. Weren't married. That doesn't necessarily matter, but just sleeping around, I was a drunken mistake. And, we could say unplanned if it weren't for the mistreatment that I had to endure. Because it's obvious I was a mistake. I wasn't just an accident. I was a mistake. Otherwise, they would have taken care of me. They said, we love you. But they wouldn't stop fighting. They wouldn't stop hitting each other. They wouldn't stop screaming at each other. They would throw things at each other. I still remember. My short-term memory isn't great, but I still remember things from the past, and I've buried a lot of it, but I always remember Aaron and my father screaming at each other, and I was at least 4 years old, and there was one time where I said, I love Daddy more than Mommy, and Aaron said, you shouldn't say that, you need to love both parents equally. Well, you know what? My dad was irresponsible, but he wasn't a fucking psychopath. And when she finally kicked him out, he loved her to death, and she fucking cheated on him multiple times, even after I was born. When she kicked him out, I was screaming and I was crying, saying, I want to go with Daddy. I want to go with Daddy. I didn't want to be with Mommy. Mommy didn't love me. She ruined my fucking life. She made me who I am. I'm a fucking sociopath because of her. I don't give a shit about people I've never met, have never built a connection with. I don't give a shit about people I don't relate to. And I only relate to people who have shitty lives. Whether they're not as bad as mine, or worse than mine. Just either way, it's a... And no one does anything about it. It took me until I was 14 to escape from her. And it was only because somebody finally saw it. No, every time I told the police she's been hitting me, when I show the police my bleeding arm, they say it's okay for her to hit me. No one ever did anything. She used to joke about, when I was young, she used to joke that, oh, she'd be screaming and crying and then go to her room and 5 minutes later she'd be fine and laughing like nothing ever happened. Wasn't that a fucking red flag to you, you stupid bitch? A young child should not be expressing urges to kill somebody, to hurt somebody, to hurt themselves. That's not right. That's not healthy. That's not right for an adult to do. But no, it didn't take until I was 12 or 13. I don't even remember at this point whether it was 12 or 13. I thought it was 12, but it might have been 13. I think it was 12 because I was in 6th grade. And that's when I was first put on medication, so it had to be 12, but it always makes me confused because in one of my songs I wrote 13, and I think that's just because it had 2 syllables, and I needed 2 syllables. I don't know. I don't know why I do anything anymore. I feel like I'm just existing and nothing. I don't have anything in here. The soul doesn't exist. We're just animals that have messed up our species. But it wasn't until I was 12 that Erin finally brought me to a psychiatrist, and that's because CPS told her to. And CPS was called because of my problems at school. How I was just fine with telling people that I would kill them. Obviously, the people at school kinda thought that was a problem. Wanna know why? Because it was a problem. And they were intelligent people. Not intelligent enough to say, hey, this child's being abused. But no. I can't fucking trust anybody. You wanna know why? Because that psychiatrist put me on Prozac, of all things. You are never supposed to give somebody with bipolar disorder Prozac! And guess what? It made it worse. It made all of my suicidal tendencies, my thoughts and my urges much worse. And I'm not the first one who I've, personally spoken to that has had a problem with Prozac. Because they're stupid psychiatrists, and those two, the word stupid and the word psychiatrist shouldn't be used in the same sentence unless it's like, oh, that person was stupid, so they went and saw a psychiatrist. I don't even know. It's like he didn't even misdiagnose me either. That's the problem. He diagnosed me as manic depressive, which at the time I had no idea was the same thing as bipolar, and later come to find, after 8 years, when I finally go to see a doctor, that I'm bipolar type 2, because guess what? There are 3 kinds! There might be 4. I'm not sure. So, what does that mean? What's the difference between type 1 and type 2? Well, type 1, you have basically an equal number of depressive episodes and hypermanic episodes. But with type 2, you have more depression episodes than any manic episodes. And when you feel mania, it's extreme. It's high bouts of mania. And the thing is that my medication is working. My medication keeps me from having, suicidal thoughts, keeps me from wanting to hurt myself, from wanting to hurt others, but it doesn't keep me from feeling. And it's like, I'm not depressed because of the chemical imbalances in my brain. My chemicals are balanced. I'm depressed because the world is shit. The world is absolute fucking shit. Our president is fucking shit. One time somebody asked me what's wrong with Trump. It went into my spam folder and I didn't even answer it. I just like, if you're stupid enough to ask what's wrong with Trump, then you're not worth not just my time. You're not worth anybody's time. If you have to ask what's wrong with Trump, you have not been paying attention to anything at all. You haven't been paying attention. Do you not understand? I don't care if you're a liberal or a conservative, if you vote Republican or Democrat. If you're a smart person, get off of this trope that you have, that if you're Republican, you have to be Republican. You have to think like a Republican. If you don't like somebody, admit you don't fucking like them. There are people in the Republican office who are sitting there going, we're having second thoughts, and, we're repealing your fucking bill. And it's just like, I don't even know how I managed to have medication when I was younger. Did Erin have insurance? I don't know. She must have had insurance to cover it, or I don't know where she was getting her money. She was probably a goddamn fucking drug dealer. I don't know, drug dealers don't usually do their drugs because, otherwise they wouldn't make the money. I don't know, blowing somebody probably, fucking somebody. And not even like, oh, I'm ashamed that this is the only way I can make money. No, willingly, for all the guys she brought home, for all the guys that she had to keep away from me. And, obviously they never touched me, they never got the chance, but the fact is that then there was Mike. It's ironic that I fell in love with somebody named Michael, and I think that's the reason why I refer to him as Michael and not Mike. He was a disaster, and she married him. He abused her and me, and she stayed with him. He was just as bad of a drug user and alcoholic as she was. He didn't just scream at her like Dad did. He stabbed her with a fucking fork. Or was it she who stabbed him with a fork? I don't know. I was sitting there in the corner crying. It was dark. All I could see was two shadows hitting each other and somebody shouting about, you fucking stabbed me, and I'm just sitting there and I'm scared. And nobody even thinks about the child in the corner who's scared for their fucking life, scared because they don't understand. They don't fucking understand what the fuck is going on. Everybody's supposed to be nice to each other, right? Everybody is supposed to treat each other with kindness. Why are you screaming at each other? As children, we're taught to treat others how we would like to be treated. We're taught to share. We're taught, to just, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. For one, that is not true. And generations of human beings have proved that. But when we grow up to be these things, these monsters, Even if you're a good person, you're a bad person. We are monsters. And when I say that I hate humanity and things like that, I'm no exception. No one should ever think that I think that I'm an exception, because I'm not. If anything, my past proves that I am not special in any way. I'm not special. And parents are always telling their kids, "Oh, you're special. You're going to be successful. Yeah, you can be a president." Well, now it's true. Anybody can be the president, except for a woman, apparently. I don't care about, the beef of whatever, she did and his shit, whatever. I don't care. But you have to be realistic. I'm not a feminist. I'm supportive of men's rights. But you have to admit that there are a lot of people who voted against Hillary just because she was a woman. You want to know why? Because we're all monsters. Oh, do you want to know why she had so many legal problems? Because humans are monsters. Do you know why her husband, one of the best presidents, we ever had? The 90s were amazing because we had Bill Clinton. Our economy was thriving. Everything felt so good. But you know what? He fucked it up. He fucked it up because humans are monsters. I have to go put my rat away. And my long-term memory may be pretty damn good, but I've buried so many things that when they come up, when I remember them, I think about the present, and I go, that explains everything. Like, for instance, I figured out why I can't talk on the phone. I remembered something. It's because, I don't know how old I was. I had to have been 3 or 4, maybe 5. I really don't remember my ages because I have no sense of time. Suicide attempt fucked that up too. So, I don't know, when I was a child, it had to have been about 5 because she was with Mike. He was with us for a long time. Oh God, he was a horrible person, and she kept going back to him. Because she was in love. No, he probably just had a big dick. I accidentally saw it once because, when you leave the shower, you're supposed to put a towel around your waist, but he didn't. And I was a little girl, so I was fucking freaked the hell out. And I don't even know how long I spent in my room crying about it. My mom thought it was funny. Sorry, Erin thought it was funny. Of course, and she also thought it was funny to take the shedded skin of a tarantula and throw it on me, which causes my arachnophobia. Well, she thought that, early signs of bipolar disorder, that are rare, by the way, rare to happen in, early childhood. She thought that was funny. Oh yes, everything was funny, wasn't it? Everything was fucking funny. It's hilarious. It's fucking hilarious. But when I was a kid, I've talked about how I was neglected, and, I was extremely, what I thought was extremely shy, and then come to know that something else is wrong with me. Yeah, I have social anxiety disorder. So that explains all of the trouble that I've had growing up. With trying to make friends, with being unable to speak, to just, and the being unable to speak thing is because I didn't have anybody to talk to. My parents, my dad did, but, my dad wasn't around for most of my life, but, no one ever spoke to me. No one ever had conversations with me. No one listened. Mommy, look what I drew. Look what I drew. Oh yeah, that's nice. Look what I drew. Shut up. And, I would shut up. Because if I didn't shut up, I'd get hit. So, it was early in the morning, and they were sleeping, probably sleeping off a hangover, and I took the phone and called the only number that I knew. I called 911. Why? Because I wanted to talk with somebody. I was happy when somebody picked up the phone. It's so weird because I remember what room I was in. I remember the color of the carpet and the walls. I remember that I was sitting on the floor, not a chair. I remember that the phone was cordless. It was black. And, they thought that obviously when you call 911, they think there's an emergency. But, I said, no, everything's fine. I just wanted somebody to talk to. And, the lady realizes that I'm a little girl, and she goes, is your mommy or daddy home? And I said, well, mommy's sleeping. And she's like, could you go wake her up for me? And, so I woke her up. I brought the phone to her, and, they talked to the 911 operator or whatever, and, they just said, keep the phone away from your kid, blah, 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 blah. And then I got hit. A lot. Got hit, got screamed at. And when I say I got hit, it's not just like a smack on the head. It's the reason why I'm afraid of cooking utensils. It's funny, when I was 19, I went to see my dad's side of the family for the first time in 10 years, and they would tell me that if anybody held up their hand too quickly, if anybody held up a wooden spoon, a ladle, any kind of, plastic or wooden cooking utensil, if they held it up too quickly, I would flinch. They told me about things that I didn't know. They told me how they confronted Aaron about the child abuse because they saw the signs. The signs were so obvious. And she locked, I think was it my aunt or my grandmother? I don't know. It was one of them. And Aaron locked them in the house, stood in front of the door, and shouted at them. Held them hostage, basically. And when I say shout, she didn't have any rhyme or reason. She would just spew fucking nonsense. She was, I don't know if she had depression issues, but she was schizophrenic. And, that stuff is worsened by alcohol and drugs. And, back then, not everybody was carrying around a cell phone because, let's see, early 90s, did phones get smaller by that? I don't know what the cell phones looked like in the early 90s. Curiosity. Oh. Yeah. Cell phones were still pretty big. And pagers. I remember pagers. Pagers were the small things. But you didn't usually have that unless, you were with, a business, like you needed to contact coworkers and such. But yeah, cell phones were big-ass things. I mean, they got smaller since the 80s, but they were still big. No one's carrying them around. And, I think they managed to get out because they said, if you keep me here, Aaron, I can press charges, And if I could count how many times Aaron went to jail during my lifetime, well, I wish I could count how many times. because that would just be another thing to brag about, wouldn't it? Just another wonderful thing to brag about. Where's all my money? Where's all that child support? Where's all the money that I was supposed to get? And what kind of support was that money giving me? Child support? More like, you're a fucking druggie and that's where your money goes. She didn't, she would claim she had a college fund for me. You know what she had in there? She had 2 shiny 50-cent pieces. For those of you who don't know what a 50-cent piece is, they were a bigger coin. I don't think they're in production anymore. I know they're still accepted as currency in the US. They were a bigger coin, they were bigger than a quarter, and they were worth 2 quarters, 50 cents, hence the name 50-cent piece. And, I have a couple of them. 'Cause, yeah, I've even stopped, I can't say I've stopped collecting coins, but I've stopped putting them in their proper places, and now they're just hanging around. I feel really bad about it. I feel bad about a lot of things. It's like, I'm not technically a textbook sociopath, because there are 2 things that make me different, is, that I don't abuse animals, unless you count the pulling off of legs off of Daddy Longlegs, because Erin suggested it, because that's what she used to do when she was a kid. Oh, now that makes so much sense. And, the fact that I can feel guilt. I mean, sociopaths can feel empathy for a small number of people who, they've brought into their lives, who they've made connections with. I'm not certain about the amount of guilt for oneself they can feel. I don't think narcissism is really a big problem with sociopaths. That's a psychopathic trait. I took a narcissism test, not just one though. I took a bunch of them. You know what? I wrote a blog about it. I'm gonna go ahead and read it because you're interested in what I have to say. Why wouldn't you be? You just listen to this stupid adult on YouTube who just spews about shit and... Okay. So, it's called At Least I'm Not a Narcissist. I never understood the term millennial, so I decided to look it up. Just for a side note, millennial is a new term, and it's basically a really bullshit term, and I hate, it's just like, it's a bullshit term, that's all it is. There are different opinions on when the generation started and when it ended, but they all seem to include people born roughly between the early 80s and the 2000s. No matter which one people accept, 1990 always falls in the generation, so I'm considered a millennial. Wee. But there are many stereotypes associated with this generation, stereotypes that I've only recently started hearing, because it's new. Apparently, we're liberal and narcissistic. I cannot call myself a liberal, for I have my share of conservative views, and I tend to think hardcore liberals are pretentious, acting like they're fighting for a cause, when all they're doing is complaining and not doing shit about the problem. Yeah, I complain, but at least I don't pretend I'm making a difference, though the small hope is there, the hope that maybe the right people will hear my complaints, people who have the power to change things, because I have no power. However, the narcissistic stereotype worried me. For those of you who know me well, you know that I tend to punish myself for feeling normal pride because people have accused me of being self-centered. My rational mind tells me that the only people who have ever accused me of being vain were people who knew nothing about me, but made assumptions based on word of mouth, misunderstandings, and little to no concrete evidence of me behaving in that way. Still, my paranoid mind tends to not want to listen to my rational one, which is one of my many flaws I sincerely dislike. Actually, hate. If I could think rationally when I most need to, I wouldn't have to sabotage myself. I don't know how many times I've complained about people not being treated equally, or that good people need to be successful, not the bad people. Sure, as a child, I thought I was special, but don't all children? Thankfully, even though I was as stupid of a teenager as all teenagers are, I at least had enough common sense to learn for myself that I'm no different from anybody else. Well, I do know I'm better than people who make stupid decisions, but so is everyone else who is intelligent, so that still doesn't make me better than everyone. Even though I was pretty sure I wasn't narcissistic, my paranoia said, well, what if you're a narcissist for thinking you're not one? So, out of curiosity, I decided to take a few narcissist tests on different medical sites, not just any old site like Quotive or something. With things like these, you need to take multiple tests to gather the most accurate information, not just take one and accept the result as proof. When a test is accurate, the multiple results will always be similar, so you can find the medium that determines where you lie on the scale. Phew! I'm not a narcissist. So here's what you must do on personality tests. Be honest. Well, honesty is my code of honor, so naturally I had to answer honestly, even if I want to check the boxes that describe the quality I'd like to have. A number of times I checked a box, then reread the question and said, that's not entirely true, and checked the one that was. It's hard to be honest with yourself sometimes. If you're insecure like me, lying to yourself on a test can make you feel like you're fooling others into thinking you're better than you really are, even though no one will ever see these answers or results. To overcome this, you must recognize and accept your flaws, and for many people, discrediting oneself is a huge fear. It makes people think that they're bad because society wants us all to be perfect. One must accept their imperfections. One quiz asked me a lot about how I treat other people, including associates and my love partner, who is currently Michael, and hopefully will be forever. I assumed associates meant friends, but it was hard to tell. I do my best not to purposefully hurt my loved ones, which are my friends and boyfriend. I could give less than a shit about people I've never even met. They're not my problem. However, it seems I treat my love partner a lot better than whoever my associates are, and that's because I've always valued love as sacred. Unfortunately, when off my medication, I do tend to blame things on other people that are my fault, including Michael, but that part of myself is not who I am, so I had to check sometimes on a few questions regarding hurting your love partner. I'm great when I'm medicated, so I haven't done that for a long time, and even after I do those kinds of things, I can later own my mistakes when in my right mind. So what I learned was basically everything I already guessed about myself. I generally admit my faults and mistakes. I know when I'm wrong and don't try to convince myself or anyone else that I'm right, except for when I am right, which in that case no convincing of myself is needed. I'm unhealthily insecure, duh. I don't take negative feedback well, double duh. I have overwhelming compassion toward people I care about. I actually am an introvert and not a narcissist pretending to be one. I'm overly cautious about other people to the point where it's not rational. Duh! I'm quick to come to conclusions that people are trying to hurt me when they're not. I'm definitely not vain. Yay. I definitely don't feel superior. Double yay. I don't need or want to be the center of attention, i.e. exhibitionism. I often feel ashamed of myself. I do envy people who have something I don't, and I feel extremely entitled. When I saw that one, I was like, well, shit. The last one I was not aware of or had not accepted. It's something I have tried to deny, so much so I convinced myself that I did not feel that way. The thing is, the feeling is autonomous. I can't turn it off, nor do I even actively think about it. It's like walking or blinking. I'm not saying that's a good thing, because it's not. But after analyzing past behavior, I've come to realize that not only do I unconsciously feel entitled, but I also unconsciously admit that it's wrong, and I am ashamed of it. I often tell Michael, you do so much for me, more than I deserve. I shouldn't have to be a burden on you. I shouldn't have to be constantly taken care of, like a child. I do nothing for you that even compares to what you do for me. I don't even know what I could do, and even if I did, I probably wouldn't be able to do it because I don't even know why. I always tell him that if I ask him to do something for me that I am perfectly capable of doing myself, he can refuse and tell me to do it myself. It does not make me angry or frustrated because I'm capable of doing it. I also told him to let me know what I can do for him, but he rarely does. Hell, he gets me awesome pizza and President's Day gifts, but he never even tells me what he wants me to give him. I went crazy on the italics there. Last night we were at Walmart, and he said he'd pay for the bread if I bought the pancakes, because they're chocolate chip and my sweet tooth goes crazy over them. But he forgot to pay for the bread, so I had to buy it anyway. He said, "I think you can spare the 98 cents, and I repeated, "I think I can spare the 98 cents, in a sort of sarcastic, self-deprecating way. Then I said, "I mean, it's not like you've done anything for me, right?" And he said, "No, not at all. I've never bought anything for you. We are both very sarcastic people, so we are able to understand sarcasm well and laugh at the joke, even though technically it's insulting toward me. Well, if you can't make fun of your faults, it's harder to accept them, isn't it? Acting this way is actually healthy, and when both you and your partner share the same opinions about said faults, it's even easier to make fun of them. Truth be told, I really didn't mind buying the bread. In fact, I buy his groceries when he asks me to, because I am aware I never do anything for him. Well, I do, but only when he tells me to. I'm not sure why I do this, but I think it has something to do with another traumatizing factor of my childhood. Which is the fact that even when I used to ask if anybody needed help, well, that wasn't okay. Let's just leave it at that. That was not okay. Welp, I ain't perfect. I've always known this. I've always admitted this, and it's not so hard for me to accept my bad qualities, even though I resent them and would give anything to make them disappear. Sometimes you can't fix things about yourself, especially when it's too late. You're an adult, and your brain does what it knows. So, if I feel entitled, I feel entitled. I don't like it, it doesn't make me happy, but that's how it is. I feel ashamed of it, and that's good. I should feel ashamed. I am also willing to help someone or do something for someone who has done everything for me, as long as it doesn't stress me to the point of a panic attack. That's good and bad. It's not great. It's acceptable in my book, and for the people who love me, it's also acceptable in theirs. It shouldn't be. That makes me both love them even more and hate myself even more, but still, I can admit it, and that alone is a quality that should be respected. But, so I may not be a great person. I have my definitive faults. I have poor qualities that are highly shameful and looked down upon, but at least I'm not a narcissist. But it's like, that doesn't really make me feel much better. Sometimes I wish I were a narcissist, because that's the extreme opposite of what I am. If I were a narcissist, I would feel confident all the time. I would not have insecurities. Well, narcissists have secret insecurities that they convince themselves that they don't have, so they believe they don't have insecurities. I don't know. I just, when I'm off my medication, I feel depressed and worthless for no reason. And when I'm on my medication and things are shit, I feel depressed and worthless for very good reasons. And, it doesn't help that we're all monsters, because there are the people, they're few and far between, but there are the people who enjoy preying upon other people's weaknesses and, being sheep and saying "bah" at you. And "bah" translates to, I'm going to tell you everything that you hate about yourself so that you can feel even worse. And guess what? I don't care about it because I don't care about you, because I hate you even though I've never met you and I know nothing about you. Or I hate you because of what other people have said and those other people know nothing about you. It's like, that's the reason why I've taken so many steps to not trust people and to shut everybody out so that shit doesn't hurt me. And it was hard. It was really, really hard. And training yourself not to trust somebody to an optimist view is not good and is not healthy. But, there are certain things people should feel optimistic about, but for people who are overly optimistic, they need to get a fucking clue. They need to get a clue, and they need to open their eyes, and like I've said many times before, remove the blindfold from their eyes, see the world for what it is, and realize that, no, you cannot trust anybody. For people who are listening to this, you can't even trust me. You shouldn't trust me. Even though I know you can trust me, you shouldn't trust me. I'm just a random person on the internet. You know, what if I'm lying about my code of honor being honesty? What if I'm lying about choosing not to lie? You don't know that. I know I'm telling the truth, but you don't know that. And it's miraculous how many people don't trust me when I personally can't understand how, you know, I'm so naive about this factor. I never understood why somebody can say something but not mean it. You know, unless I was a little girl and I, you know, did something bad and I didn't want to get in trouble because I didn't want to get hit, so I'd lie about it. You know, I'd be like, no, I didn't do that. You know, but it's like, if somebody says, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore, and they know they're lying about it, it's like, I don't understand that. Or, you know, I'm going to do this special thing for you, or I feel this special way about you, or, you know, I know this person in real life, or, you know, my husband survived, or died in the 9/11 tragedy, and, you know, I have all these stories and blah, 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 blah. You know, I don't understand that. So, whenever I say something, I'm automatically unsure why people can accuse me of lying, because I said something that was true. But it's hypocritical because I can never trust anything anyone ever says unless it's Michael or Senpai. And it's hard because there's the entitlement thing again, is I guess I feel entitled to people trusting me because I know I'm telling the truth. But when you look at it as at a worldwide perspective of how many monsters there are, and for how many of you don't know me in real life, you can't see my face, you can only hear my voice, only read my words. It's like, how can you trust me? How can I say you can trust me and not trust other people? But you know what? I can't. That's my number one rule in life, is to never trust anybody. Ever. Unless they have proven you can trust them. And it took a long time for me to fully trust Michael and Senpai. And when I'm off my medication, that trust goes down the drain. When I'm off my medication, I convince myself that Michael doesn't love me. That he just doesn't leave me because he doesn't want me to kill myself. That, you know, he's been pretending to love me so that he could, you know, use me, so that he had somebody else, you know, to pay rent. So that he could, you know, later upset me for, you know, his own amusement. None of that's true. He's not that kind of person. He's never been that way. That's one of the versions of Michael that exists in my nightmares. That's not him, and I know that's not him, so why does my mind... You know, I don't know if that's the bipolar disorder or the PTSD talking, I don't know. Because I've been betrayed so many times by the people who were supposed to love me. By the people I would give so much to be in the room with. Just be in a room with them so that I can fucking make them feel everything. To see me as an adult and make them feel everything. And I'm not gonna lie, I felt a lot of disappointment when my grandmother told me Aaron moved to Nevada. And, you know, and Michael knows, and Senpai knows. You know, I didn't actually know that I had any sociopathic traits until Senpai mentioned it. I think I was 20, 21. I don't know, I was a young adult. And I kind of thought of it as a joke. And it wasn't until a couple years ago that I looked up what makes a sociopath, that I educated myself on the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath, to the point where I know the percentages of which make up the world. It's about roughly 12% of the world's population are sociopaths, and roughly 4% of the world's population are psychopaths. Psychopaths are born, psychopaths, sociopaths are made, due to environment and upbringing. There are a lot of similarities, but there are a lot of large differences, which people ignore and use the terms interchangeably. I am not a psychopath. I am definitely not a psychopath. I don't think there is anybody with bipolar disorder that is capable of being a psychopath, because bipolar disorder makes you feel emotions at extreme. Psychopaths are emotionless. They don't feel any empathy. They don't feel any regret. They are fully narcissistic. Whether they're aware that, you know, they're not feeling regret or not. But I'm a bundle of extreme emotions. I'm a child living in an adult body with a brain that has more intelligence than a child, but can't seem to act like an adult because I didn't have a childhood. And it's like, you know, when somebody tells me that I'm being childish or immature, I'm like sitting there like, I know, but it's not my fault. But when I say it's not my fault, people could say, oh, that's just an excuse, you know, you're blaming things on other people, you're blah, blah, blah. No. I'm not one of those people who blame things on other people that are my fault, unless I'm off my medication. But for, what, a year and a half now? I don't remember. I have no sense of time. I've been on medication that stabilizes my moods just fine, except for when I'm PMSing, and I'm not PMSing. It's been about half a week since I ended my period. And for those of you who know what PMS stands for, you'll know that the PMS comes before the period. I often experience during the early days of the period also, and my psychiatrist says that it's normal for, monthly female hormones to negate effects of the medication, because, that's nature. And, medical science has come a long way, but it's not perfect. And you know what? People aren't going to even try to make it perfect, because, like Chris Rock said, there's no money in the cure, there's money in the medicine, and as long as you can make money off of this medication, you're not going to look for a cure. People who care will try to look for a cure, but people who want money, outnumber the people who care. There are just too many monsters. And, I still have trouble understanding when I'm typing something to somebody and they take it the wrong way. I still have trouble understanding how they got to that conclusion. And then when I try to explain what I meant, it somehow makes it worse. But to me, the words seem fine. When people say, oh, you're so rude to your commenters, I'm like, point it out. Point out a comment where I was rude to this person and they were not rude to me first. Point it out. I fucking dare you. Chances are, you know, in my mind, okay, I'm a very sensitive person, but in my mind, when they read something that was not insulting as insulting, they're being a big baby. That's what my mind believes. And I don't know. It's been very difficult to learn how to step in other people's shoes, but there are certain instances where it's still hard to see things from other people's point of view. I think it comes down to the fact that I don't know how to speak to people. I know how to write. I don't know how to speak to people. So I end up saying the wrong things. There are multiple instances in person where I've said the wrong things to people and I didn't understand how they took it wrong until later. And present me says, you know, if I could go back in time, I could tell that me how to word it. 'Cause I never know how to word things, and that's why I stumble over my speech. It's why I have so many Freudian slips. It's why sometimes I speak faster than I'm thinking because of nervousness. It's why I make up words and use them fully aware that they are not words. It's why when I speak, certain words come out just grammatically incorrect, or like the Freudian slip thing, the wrong words come out. But I've learned to make fun of that, at least. You know, I point out my mistakes, my speech mistakes when I make them. You know, with my little "that's English" graphic, and I just say "that's English," and then I, give you guys voices and say, Reitanna, you know how to speak, come on, you can do it, take your tongue out and put it on a clothesline, let it just, or take it out of the freezer, let it thaw out, or something like that. And, I make fun of it because I've accepted it. I don't make fun of it because I think it's funny. Or cute. As some people have called it in the past. Which, cute is such a positive word, and yet people can use it in such a rude way. All these positive words, all these normal words that people have ruined. Like the word edgy. I fucking hate that word. Because people use it to describe people who are trying to be hardcore for attention. That's not what edgy means. That's not what edgy has ever meant. Edgy can mean consisting of edges, like a piece of paper, or a knife or other kind of blade. It has an edge. Oh, and by the way, according to modern society, because I referenced a knife, oh my god, I'm being so edgy. Oh my god. That's how people sound to me now. So, consisting of edges, it's a square, it's a cube. That axe for cutting wood, that's been used for cutting wood for, centuries. And then used as a murder weapon because, hey, they found out it's sharp. It could also, chop through a human. That an axe is edgy. Being nervous. That's also another definition of edgy. The presence of that man had me feeling sort of edgy. And I got a bad feeling about him. Felt nervous or anxious. Or trend-setting, which is a good thing. If something's edgy, that means it's become well-known, well-liked, popular, popular, and has gotten people to copy it, basically. say, like, the rebirth of pinup style. 50s pinup style. The modern rebirth of it is called rockabilly. And it's cute. It was cute in the 50s. It's cute now, especially, with people who have retained a 50s style facial structure, who pull off the dresses well, and there are certain things added to the fashion, such as having certain types of tattoos and piercings. The hair is highly inspired from pinup, but because of, other styles that we can get inspiration from, they've evolved. Everything evolves. Whether it's original or not, it's evolved. And, even though technically that style originated from the 50s, the rockabilly trend is edgy. It's edgy because people like it, and people copied it, and people, realized that that's how they wanted to dress, and that, most people who decide to dress that way can rock it. It's kind of weird to see pictures of people who can't, but, whatever. I always think to myself, I'm like, I wonder if I could pull that off, and then I'm like, yeah, but that hair, I could never achieve that even if I had the time and energy to do my hair like that, because I have bald spots. Because I'm just the best person in the world, aren't I? I think so highly of myself. Oh my god. I am so much better than every single person who ever existed, ever. Oh my god, I'm so better than my YouTube, subscribers. I'm so better than you guys. Like, I'm stuck in my house all the time, and that, makes me better than you. Like, I'm unhappy all the time, and I'm so much better than you. And, oh my god, I'm intelligent, and even though I've spoken to many of you who are equally or even more intelligent, I'm so much smarter than you. It's not a joke. I mean, obviously, I don't think those things, but people think I think those things. And that's what makes it not funny. So, edgy is supposed to be a good word, It's good as in trend-setting. Has a negative connotation when feeling nervous. Is just a descriptive word for things that have edges. It doesn't mean somebody trying to be hardcore for attention. That's just what society has made it, They put it in the Urban Dictionary. The Urban Dictionary is not a real dictionary. Oh my god, the Trump voice has become a thing. Oh my god, I did that without even realizing it. I think it's just ironic that he speaks in a voice that's so easily mockable. And fake news has become a term. Then again, this generation's slang has bled into the quote-unquote millennials. And now millennials are using things like lit, like the people at at Cracked are using the word lit or woke. Things that I've only just recently heard because somebody told me what they were, It's like they told me what they were, and then I started hearing it. I'm sitting there like, you're fucking adults. You have a successful job. You're well known. You're probably the same age, if not too much older than I am, and you're using words like lit and woke. Come on, yeah, the English language had already gone to shit by, when I was a kid, and even worse now that I'm an adult, and it wasn't perfect in generations before. And now I understand whenever, old timers would be all like, oh, I don't understand this new-fangled slang, what the hell does dope mean? Why are you saying things are dope? What does that mean? Now I know. Now I understand. And it's like, it's ironic. And it's especially, and it's like, we used to think that old people using words like dope or bomb, were lame. But I'm an adult, and I still think that using this generation's slang is lame. Because to me, 90s slang isn't lame, because I'm a 90s kid. But, if I hear a full-grown adult say bae one more time, I'm going to seriously shove some bae in their face. It's like, come on. I mean, I'm a child. I'm mentally, basically a child. But there's a line, guys. And when you have a president that is acting like the most childish adult in the entire freaking world, that's probably not an over-exaggeration at this point. It's just like, I think I had already lost hope before the election. Hope for humanity. I'd already had so much negativity toward humanity, but after he won, it started going so downhill. And note that I am not a political person. I know next to nothing about politics. I've never voted, and I never will vote. The voting is basically, it's a don't vote. There are so many reasons to not vote. Your vote doesn't matter. No one's vote matters. And even if Michael and I had both voted, Trump still would have won. But, we're sitting here like, maybe that was all, just his way of getting people to vote for him. Maybe if he does win, God forbid, he's not actually that type of person, and maybe he'll be like, haha, just kidding, I'm a real person. The fact that people voted for him proves the stupidity of America. And I know there are stupid people in other countries, but even, when other countries as a whole are looking down at us, feeling sorry for us, and just like, these are other countries that hate us, and they're feeling sorry for us. It's only been 6 months since he was, put into office. And it feels like it's already been, like, a year or two. It just keeps going on, and things keep getting worse, and I'm sitting here and I'm worried about losing my insurance, because Obamacare, or the Affordable Health Care Act, which people don't seem to think are the same thing, made it so that if you have a pre-existing condition, you can still get insurance. Before Obamacare, before the Affordable Health Care Act, if you were born with a heart disease, and you try to get insurance for the medical procedure that is available and ready and totally possible and could cure you, could save your life, or at least lengthen your life, your insurance will deny you because you had a pre-existing condition. Well, I have multiple pre-existing conditions. Not just talking about, the mental illnesses either. No, I broke my arm when I was a kid, because as much as my dad loved me, and he still has always had responsibility issues, and he was tossing me in the air and he dropped me, and I was crying. Babies cry. Oh, she just got hurt. It's grass, it's soft. No, I broke my arm, and now that wrist cracks whenever I rotate it. It's disgusting.
Yeah. And I had to be only 1. I was just a baby. This is a story they told me. I don't remember it. I've seen pictures of myself with the cast. My brother remembers it. 'Cause I broke my arm as a baby. 'Twas an accident of an irresponsible adult. I wouldn't be able to afford my medication. Because I had a pre-existing condition. And that's not even counting the bipolar disorder, the social anxiety. Technically, the PTSD showed up, before 2014. It's just, and Trump is so ironic that his name is Trump, because he's trying to trump it out. Now you cannot never use the word Trump in a word, or in a sentence, and not think of that thing. It's like, these were pre-existing conditions, and I'm one of the millions of people who could lose their health insurance. And then what? I know what it's like to be off my medication. I'm scared of myself. It's like, who am I gonna kill first, Michael or myself? I've off my medication. He's told me during my attacks I've threatened to kill him. I am lucky I am not physically strong, because I tried to kill him. And he's no athlete, but, men biologically have more muscle mass than women. And they tend to be stronger than us, especially if, we don't work out. So he can stop me. But what if there's a point where he can't? And I just go that crazy because I don't have my medication. And, if I think about maybe one day Michael is walking to work, it's literally a 2-minute walk, and it's just that day where he gets hit by a car with somebody who swerved off the road, and thinking about losing him breaks me, and I know I can't live without him. To think about his side, to think about what if I killed myself, how he would feel, and he doesn't have any mental problems. And then I think about my rats. It's like, I don't want to exist anymore, but there are things that I can't leave behind. What would my rats do if I suddenly just stopped showing up? They are incredibly attached to me because I'm Mama. Dad is dad, but Mom is Mom. Tommy has certain things that only he responds to, that he doesn't respond to as well with Daddy. I have the magic touch when I pet him. He'll sit there and just love the pets. He does it with Daddy too, but Mommy has the magic touch. Mommy can get it every time. And Dad has pointed this out. Jerry is extremely attached to me. He anywhere I go, he looks at me, he follows me. I mean, he doesn't get off the bed and follow me like Rem did. Oh, Rem. Oh, I miss Rem. Rem was the smartest rat I ever had. He would jump off the bed, and he would go to the kitchen because he knew I was going to give him bread. I have videos of it. They're in my animal video playlist. And people think, oh, they're just animals. They don't know any better. Yeah, well, we're just animals, too. We're just animals who have destroyed the planet. And I hope we don't reach immortality, because we don't deserve it. And a lot of people don't even realize how much damage we've done. And listen, I'm not a hippie. I hate hippies. I fucking hate hippies. I have a Cartman-style opinion of hippies. But it's another thing I don't understand is how can you not look at another animal and see another living creature? How can you not look at a plant and see, again, another living creature? These things that were here before us, these things that are part of the circle of life, that are part of the food chain. And yet, oh, what have we done? Oh, we developed a language. Yeah, well, so have animals, just because we can't, understand their language, just because I don't understand what my rats are saying when they're squeaking, or what they're saying when they, twitch their nose, or speak in the high-pitched squeaks that human ears can't detect. That doesn't mean that they don't have a language. It's like saying, oh, the Japanese aren't smart, they haven't, developed their own language. That's believing that their own language is supposed to be English. And then like, oh, well, we've built, buildings and crap. Yeah, animals build things too. And they're less harmful to the environment. And they don't have to necessarily ruin a habitat to build it. They can kick a couple animals out of a certain territory. They could take over a territory, but it's not gonna, extinct the species if they do that. Oh, well, we have businesses, and we have blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we have money. We have currency. That fucked us. That fucked us. It's still fucking us. It's fucking us in in 3 different holes. Females have 4 holes, but I can't imagine, getting a dick up there. Ugh. Oh, wrong images. Oh, no. Okay. Puppies, cute kitty cats, furry kitty cats, cats in Japan. Hello Kitty is not a kitty cat. Just learned that recently. Hello Kitty is actually a girl. Fuzzy little white owls with big eyes. Did you know owls can't move their eyes and that's why they have to turn their head? I didn't know that. And so all those clocks with the owls and their eyes move side to side each time it ticks, those are so inaccurate. They're inaccurate. Inaccurate. I don't remember what I was saying. I'm just unhappy. But I think a lot of it is the fact that every single day is exactly the same. I have no problem waking up to Michael every single day. I want that. Especially, how lonely I felt when he was gone. He was in Mississippi. It felt so wrong to sleep alone. And he felt the same way. And when he got home, we were cuddling and talking. And, poor guy. He was horny. He couldn't have sex with me because I started my period. So I gave him a rain check and, Seriously. And it's just like, but I wake up to the same shitty apartment. I wake up in the same shitty town, in the same shitty city, in the same shitty state. He has to go to the same shitty job that's bleeding him dry. I have to do the same shitty things every day because I have no motivation to do the shitty things that I enjoy doing. Nothing is interesting, exciting. I tell myself, I'm like, I want to draw today, and then when I look at the thing I want to draw, I just go, I really don't feel like it. And the medication is supposed to help with motivation. And it did. It was helping. But these are real feelings. These aren't chemical imbalances. This has nothing to do with being mentally ill. This is real. And this is why I made Encphylon. But I'm still too sane to actually lose myself in the world, to close my eyes and go to another place. Like, people with psychotic disorders can. People with schizophrenia. I'm gonna be honest, there are some times, now, and I'm not saying I do, but there are some times when I wish I had schizophrenia so that I could hallucinate and see my characters and my creatures and all this other things. Then rational mind comes in and says, schizophrenia is really bad, right? Aaron? Yeah, the woman who abused you for 14 years? Yeah, she has schizophrenia. Do you remember how dealing with that was? Yeah, do you really want to be that kind of person? Yeah, it's a serious mental illness. If you can't even handle the ones that you have now, if you were schizophrenic, then you would just be a wreck, you know that? It's very serious. And I'm like, I know it's serious. And you're right, rational mind, I was being stupid. It's like saying, I want the extinction of the human race, because I'm not afraid of death, but I'm afraid of pain. So, if we're getting a mass extinction of the human race, it needs to happen quick and painlessly. I don't want to burn slowly in the fire caused by the moon crashing into the earth and breaking open the core. Magma. Especially since I'm afraid of fire and hot things. I think that fear comes from cigarette burns when I was a kid. That's the only thing that makes sense. But my fear of volcanoes doesn't make much sense. I've always had this strange fear of volcanoes, and I've never even seen one in person. Seen pictures of them. As devastating as they are, they're beautiful. But a lot of, devastating things in nature are beautiful. We've just caused too many problems. And, again, I'm not pretentious. I don't think that I'm not causing any problems. Because I'm a human being. Therefore, I cause problems. I cause problems to the environment. People who are trying to save the environment cause problems to the environment. Actually, in most cases, people who are trying to save the environment are doing more harm. People who are trying to harm the environment are doing harm, obviously. Because we can't just leave things alone. We had to come in, and we had to, become destructive, decide that we're the top species, decide that, we're the top of the food chain. We're not the top of the food chain. We are out of the food chain. There's no chain. We're not in the circle of life. There is no circle of life with us. Everything else is in a circle. Everything else is in a chain. We're not part of it. Because we're a problem. We are intrusive. We are pests. People talk about, I have mice in my house. We have to kill them. No, you have a house in their territory. That's where mice should be. I don't know. I feel like I really needed that cry, but as much stress as it relieved, it doesn't really make me feel much better. I'm wondering if I should take a break from The Sims today and just, try writing. 'Cause I was getting close to a block when I was writing Eye Candy, and I said, I cannot give up on this story, so I cannot encounter a block. Maybe if I try continuing, I'll realize, the block is gone, and I'll be able to lose myself in a fictional world that even with Lord fucking Voldemort I'd rather live in. At least it would make it interesting. You know, and it's to that point where it's like, you've got to think about it. Would you join the dark side? And it's like, it's that thing where it's like, oh yeah, I'd totally join the dark side because I'm hardcore. Or, you know, it's like, oh, I would join the good side because I'm an angel. I'm a saint. And then there's the, well, I'm just a good person, so I join the good side. And then there's the, well, honestly, I'm a really bad person, so I'd most likely join the bad side. Or there's the person who's like, I don't want to get involved with either of you. Leave me alone. I'm going to go live with the Muggles. The Muggles aren't safe. I'm going to go live with the goblins. The goblins aren't safe. I'm gonna go live with the giants. The giants wouldn't be safe even if Voldemort wasn't using them. And it's like, would you join the Death Eaters just so that you have a higher chance of living? Even though he has no problem killing his Death Eaters if they do one thing out of line? You know, unless they make up for it. Like, I'm surprised he didn't kill Wormtail. I'm surprised he didn't kill Lucius Malfoy. I'm kind of surprised he didn't kill Draco when he refused to so, spoiler alerts. Sorry. I just assume everybody's read the books. Because the movies are inaccurate. Yeah. I don't know. It's like, does Voldemort have empathy after all? No. No, he just wanted to continue using them. Oh. Or it's like, would you join the dark side just because you sincerely hate everybody else? It's like, if I were to live in the magical world of Harry Potter, would I still feel this nihilistic? Would I still feel that everybody's shit? And would I seriously just, you know, go up to Voldemort and I'd be like, I'm your slave because I fucking hate everybody. You know, do whatever you want with me. I don't fucking care anymore. Just to have something to do. But then you gotta think about all the things in the magical world that make you want to live. Like nifflers. Nifflers, pygmy puffs. Aw, pygmy puffs. The opportunity to be an animargus. Having owls everywhere. You could literally go up to a tower and pet any owl to communicate with the owls. That one chance that, you know, that one chance that one student chose to pick a toad to bring to school, so now you have a friend that has a toad. And now you have a friend that's a toad. It always made me wonder why your only options for a pet were an owl, a cat, or a toad, and yet Ron got to bring Scabbers. I mean, yeah, he proved to be very crucial to the plot, but... And it's like, you gotta think about the magical rats, too. It's like, the magical rats that, you know, obviously Scabbers Wormtail took the appearance of a normal rat, even though he lived way too long, you know, but he still, you know, he followed Ron around, he kept close by him, he didn't go explore off on his own, and get lost. He'd always come back because he was a human being in disguise! And then the magical rats would do that, and, you know, you wouldn't have as much worry about, you know, like leaving their cage open or walking around with them. You wouldn't be afraid that they'd jump off of you. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my rats. I love them to death. But I wish I could let them out of their cage like a dog. Let them sleep on our bed with us, you know, let them run around, come see us. But the truth is they're just too small. They're too small. They could fit into things that are very dangerous for them to go into. They could have trouble coming out of things. They could accidentally eat something that we've mistakenly dropped on the ground. There are probably pills that have dropped on the ground and we never found them, even though we saw where it dropped, and we looked where we saw it drop, and we looked around the place we saw it drop, and it's gone! It disappeared! How does that happen? Ghosts! You know, and, you know, they're smart. They're smart. They're probably smarter than dogs in some cases, but they're just too small, too delicate, and too inquisitive. Oh, what's this? I'm going to chew on it. Oh, what's this? I'm going to eat it. All of a sudden, you're either getting electrocuted or poisoned. And, you know, the cage, you know, I have a nice big cage for them, but it doesn't change the fact that they want to be out with us all the time, but they can't be out with us all the time. And I feel bad for them. And then I imagine myself being able to turn into a rat and sitting on Mike's lap and having him pet me. And I would just sit there and he'd pet me while he's watching wrestling. But I could turn back into a woman, you know, so that I could fulfill human needs too, you know. Womanly duties to her man. Which, you know, I have no problem saying because I'm not a feminist. Just things. Just happy, fictional, unrealistic things to think about that you can wish and wish and wish, but when you are too in tune with reality, it makes you that much more depressed when you realize that you don't have an escape. There is nothing special out there. You know, the most exciting thing that you can get is riding a really fast roller coaster for a minute and a half. And even then, that costs money. So it's like, yeah. That's why we write fiction. I mean, that's not the reason why every fiction writer writes fiction, but a lot of us write fiction because we come up with better worlds. I mean, or worse worlds. I mean, being in the Muffins universe wouldn't be very favorable. And even in Encphylon, you know, being in Wayward City only applies to some, obviously. But then there's Smilesville, where everything is colorful, where everything, basically any plant is like a candy. The dirt has sugar in it, and it's happy. And you're not required to be happy, but happy people go there, you know, they want to be there, you know. The mayor is good, successful, even if she's, like, what did I make her? I made her like 12 or something. You know, everything's happy. The crime rate is so low that, you know, the prisons are always empty. And even if there is somebody in prison, depending on what they did, it's probably a very short sentence. And the guards are probably really friendly. And then there's Clearwater Park, where there's something in the air that prevents people from feeling harsh negative emotion. There are no prisons because you cannot commit a crime there. It's impossible. Unless you think that something is a good action, but you didn't know that it was wrong. Say, like, you are, you know, Clearwater Park isn't fully dry. You can drink a certain amount of alcohol on certain occasions. So if you're just, like, free drinking, yeah, you're gonna get punished. You're gonna, you know, be held away, do community service or something, you know, but people who live in Wayward City might not know that that's wrong. So, you know, and if they decide that they don't want to be in the horrible city anymore and they want to be somewhere else, you know, somewhere nice, maybe they have mental problems that, you know, they take themselves and their other to Clearwater Park, and they don't need medication because the air is their medication. I mean, the buildings don't even have locks on them. Nobody locks their doors because they don't need to. Businesses don't need to lock their doors because there's no shoplifting. Everybody knows shoplifting is bad, so, you don't get the urge for it. It's just like... And then there's the unknown quadrant, which people just stay away from because nobody knows what's over there. All we know is that people don't usually come back. So, not counting the unknown quadrant, 2/3 of Encphylon is loads better than Earth. But I can't go there. I can only imagine things, not to the point where I can lose myself. Escape reality. I can write stories. But I'm not even like my cartoon self. I give my cartoon self some of my flaws. A few of my flaws. But overall, my cartoon self is a much better person, and is much happier. I like to think that it's because she, say, in a different reality, if parallel universes exist, in a different reality, I found a way to escape Earth. I found a way to bring all my friends to this better world. And now we exist in this better world, and because of it, it's easier to deal with all of these faults and things. There are many things to make you feel safe, to make you feel happy, and it's just better. And that makes her a better person than me. Despite how many problems she has, she can cope with it because things are better. And even though I know reality way too well, I try to drown myself in the fantasies, and I dwell on them way too much, and it just makes me feel worse, but I can't stop it. I've never been able to stop it, no matter how much I've tried. These things are, you can't just teach yourself not to think a certain way when that's all you've ever known. Especially when you're an adult and your brain's done developing, and your brain does what it knows. You can't reprogram it. Anyway, Michael's probably going to be home for lunch in about 20 minutes, so... I've been talking long enough. I can't say I feel better, but I don't feel worse. So, if you listen to to this long, cool. Sorry if you were having a good day and I brought you down because I'm negative Nancy with her negativeness and her Nancy nagging, not the N-word. Didn't mean to say anything close to that. Wow. Anyway. If you feel like, what I have been saying is what you feel, and is how you think, leave a like on this video. Consider subscribing. And, click the bell to get my notifications. If you don't like, if you don't like what I'm saying, and you haven't listened this, and you have listened to this long miraculously, then just go. Just leave a dislike and go. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to waste your time on somebody like me. Okay? I'm not worth it. I'm really not worth your time. So, if you don't consider me worth it, then just leave a dislike and go. And hopefully I'll see you guys with a more happy attitude. So, bye.